extremes, where fire and ice clash. Ancient mountains give way to lush forests. A forgotten wilderness, dazzling in its diversity. Seasons of darkness and perpetual light reveal life thriving against the odds. In a place this volatile and unforgiving, every creature must be prepared for the unexpected. Differences in temperature between winter and summer are extreme. The land itself is unpredictable and unstable. It's a region of Arctic cold and rock melting heat. Life has evolved extraordinary strategies for survival, and the raw power of the earth is countered by a delicate beauty. The north of this region defines cold. On the exposed highlands of northern Iceland, temperatures can plummet to a bone-chilling -39 degrees. A young predator braves the bitter January winds. The Arctic fox is about the same size as a large domestic cat, but its thick coat makes it look much bigger. A stubby nose and short ears help conserve precious heat. So does its amazing ability to reduce blood flow to exposed body parts. But the real secret of its success is its fur, which covers its entire body, including the soles of its feet. In winter, the fox's fur trebles in length, giving it the warmest coat in the animal kingdom. It can survive weather that would kill most mammals within minutes. If the going gets tough, the fox can just curl up into a furry ball and wait for conditions to improve. The Nordic lands bearing the brunt of winter lie furthest north, inside the Arctic Circle. This area is vast. Spanning the globe from the frozen shores of North America to the Russian border, 5 countries and nearly 100,000 kilometers of coastline make up Scandinavia. Over the millennia, the landscape has been gouged and crumpled by colossal corridors of ice and collisions of the Earth's crust. It's a cruel place to eke out an existence. high-pressure geysers. Kilometers west, lands formed hundreds of millions of years ago are home to creatures little changed since prehistoric times. Scandinavia's tallest peaks are found on the Earth's largest island, Greenland, where some of the world's most experienced climbers are heading for the hills. Musk oxen are made for the mountains. A soft brown fleece, several times warmer than wool, and shaggy overcoats makes the animals resistant to wind chills of -60 degrees. Their winter wardrobe allows them to adopt an unusual survival strategy. Instead of taking cover in high winds, they spend much of the winter on high ground. Up here, driving winds blow away most of the snow, making it easier for these plant eaters to get at the grasses underneath. They gain just enough energy to keep them moving and keep warm. No animal can survive here without the right credentials. On the low plains of Iceland, a remote huddle of more recent immigrants emerge from the icy canvas. The Icelandic horse bears testimony to the island's stormy past. The ancestors of these animals were brought here in open boats by Vikings over 1,000 years ago. They endure a climate that would kill most of their mainland relatives. In just 100 or so generations, they have developed into a unique breed, adapted to some of the harshest conditions on Earth. During these winter months, days are short. Fading daylight forces temperatures even lower. The darkening skies bear witness to a very different storm. To some Arctic peoples, these northern lights are the spirits of dead seals, whales, and caribou. In fact, the aurora borealis is caused by storms on the sun. Huge plasma flares create solar winds that collide with our atmosphere. These invisible energy streams get pushed towards the south and north poles. The result is nature's version of the neon light. A single display can unleash as much electrical power as the United States uses in a day. Not many creatures are around to witness this spectacle. Because Iceland is so isolated, it is home to surprisingly few animal species. Some birds have settled here, together with a few rodent species imported by humans. The only native land mammal is the Arctic fox. Its ancestors were stranded in Iceland at the end of the last ice age. Calmer weather gives the fox a chance to get on with the important business of finding food. It's a resourceful hunter, but winter means good meals are few and far between. A rock ptarmigan might make a tasty snack. It's one of the few birds to remain inland during the freeze. Feathered feet act as snowshoes. The ptarmigan is a master of disguise. Pure white plumage makes it all but invisible to the foxes. Come spring, when the snow melts, it'll change to a mottled brown. On the mainland, the vast majority of Arctic foxes also grow pure white winter coats. But this isolated island population is different. With no natural predators, there's little need for winter camouflage. This could be a clue as to why most foxes here retain their dark colour all year long. But dark coats leave them plainly visible against the snow. So the ptarmigan has plenty of warning. With so little prey available, starvation is an ever-present threat for the Icelandic Arctic fox. It often buries leftovers as emergency rations for leaner times. Finding its stash after a snowstorm is a real challenge. Persistence finally pays off. But Scandinavia is anything but predictable, and the foxes may soon face a far greater challenge: the landscape itself. Iceland is home to one of the greatest concentrations of volcanoes on Earth. Major eruptions occur here on average every 5 years. And deep underground, things are beginning to stir. Small earthquakes are becoming more frequent. The mountains are starting to awaken. 2,000 kilometers east, a very different landscape provides a refuge. Finland's vast woodlands offer shelter and food for a variety of wildlife. The red fox thrives amongst sheltering trees. Just as in Iceland, hidden caches can be a lifesaver during winter's lean times. For many predators, small mammals like lemmings are an important food source. The lemming relies on the snow to hide. His cozy underground den is lined with leaves and feathers, allowing him to endure the winter without hibernation. But with predators all around, life for smaller mammals is perilous. A quick venture into the open is a dangerous move. expert eyes of the hawk owl miss little. The next time he may not be so lucky. Another creature partial to lemming is the Eurasian lynx. Extremely rare and secretive, the lynx inhabits the high forests all across the northern hemisphere. It's a confident tree climber and can even swim, although in this bitter season a dip is definitely best avoided. An unsuspecting raven could be an easy target if the cat can just get close enough. Some things are best left alone, but an out-of-reach raven might be the least of his worries. The lynx has competition. This forest is home to the wolverine. Despite its name, the wolverine is more closely related to the weasel than the wolf. And while they have a benign, almost cuddly appearance, this is a ruthlessly effective predator. Weighing up to 20 kilos and with seemingly limitless energy, it constantly monitors its territory, marking it with urine, and claiming any potential prey within it as its own. Anything from rabbits and birds to reindeer and elk are fair game for the wolverine. The wolverine's Latin name means glutton, and ravens have learned that when there's a wolverine nearby, it's often a good chance of a meal. Casualties of the cold provide the hunter with a ready supply of carrion. The bounty is jealously guarded. The wolverine is not in any mood to share. The lynx is deep inside this wolverine's territory and keeps a respectful distance. The lynx watches, biding its time. Fading light is a signal for the cat to make its move. The wolverine is usually nocturnal, but during the longer winter nights, it will hunt and sleep in 4-hour shifts. It makes one last check of its larder and leaves. from the lynx, it's an easy steal. Southerly regions, snow and ice slowly surrender to the strengthening March sun. The prospect of warmer weather heralds an influx of Scandinavia's part-time residents. The Nordic countries provide a home to millions of migratory birds. But migration patterns are changing. Global warming is altering the timing of the seasons. Birds seem to be adapting their behavior accordingly. Each year, they arrive slightly earlier. A long-legged traveller makes landfall in the Swedish wetlands. The common crane. From their winter vacation in East Africa, they have journeyed over the Middle East and Eastern Europe to reach this spot, covering a distance of more than 7,000 kilometers. The long journey leads to short tempers. The gathering birds soon get down to the serious business of mating. Synchronized honking and strutting help strengthen bonds. The female signals her submission with open wings. It's a ritual that has maintained this species for thousands of years. Nearby, flowing water is a lifeline for semi-aquatic animals. The otter and the dipper rely on ice-free streams and rivers for a supply of fresh food. The otter's sleek outer coat is made from coarse, oil-covered guard hairs. These lie flat during swimming, trapping an insulating layer of air and keeping the inner fur and skin dry. The white-throated dipper uses a different natural dry suit. The tiny bird coats its feathers with waterproofing oil from a specially adapted cleaning gland. It can see underwater. A quick glance beneath the surface, and the dipper spots its target and takes the plunge. Crustaceans and caddisfly larvae are valuable sources of protein. The Eurasian otter's high metabolism calls for a heftier diet. It must eat up to 15% of its body weight every day. Fish and crayfish, slowed by the cold, make easy pickings. If things chef underwater, then nobles and even birds are added to the menu. For the Swedish cranes, life is not easy. The birds arrived early, but Nordic weather is unpredictable, and this year spring is late. They are laying their eggs on schedule, but it's still far too cold. In these temperatures, the fertilized eggs have no chance of developing. Despite the crane's best efforts, the whole exercise is in vain. The survival of these birds may depend on their ability to adapt to their changing world. And in Scandinavia, change can happen fast. Iceland's Jökull has exploded into life. It's hurling over 750 tons of pulverized rock into the air every second. The two sections of the Earth's crust on which it sits are slowly separating, releasing superheated magma and steam from deep within. Pulverized rock and scorched earth form a blanket that smothers everything in its path. Vegetation is suffocated. The dense ash cloud blots out sunlight for hundreds of kilometers and brings Europe's air traffic to a standstill. Iceland is quite literally being torn apart. The appearance of the landscape changes from polar to lunar. For the animals living in the shadow of the volcano, this eruption could prove deadly. The ash contains toxic chemicals and shards of volcanic glass. With this much ash on the ground, the horses cannot graze. They will have to move or starve. Greenland is not only the world's largest island, it's also one of the least hospitable. 80% of the island is blanketed by a massive layer of ice. The Greenland ice cap covers 1.7 million square kilometers and is over a kilometer deep. Under sufficient pressure, ice flows, and Greenland's rivers of ice, glaciers, are accelerating, perhaps because of rising temperatures. creatures can survive in this violent landscape, but one has become an expert. The polar bear is the world's largest land predator, but it mainly hunts on the ice, using shifting flows to stalk seals. It is believed polar bears are descended from brown bears that became isolated by glaciers around the time the ice sheet began to form. A series of evolutionary changes has allowed them to thrive. White fur provides camouflage, while their massive bulk and a layer of fat insulate them in the freezing water. They can smell prey up to 40 kilometers away and rip it apart with their sharp teeth and claws. For such a powerful hunter, the polar bear lives a precarious existence. Its survival depends on regular movement of ice and prey. But bears aren't the only giants here. Remnants of the crumbling ice sheet litter the seas. In recent years, icebergs are becoming more numerous, and some are huge. In 2010, a chunk of ice measuring over 250 square kilometers sheared off from a glacier and headed out to sea. Floating megaliths drift, sometimes for months, before they slowly melt away. If all Greenland's ice cap were to thaw, it would raise the Earth's oceans by more than 6 meters. Warmer summers and warmer seas mean that in the north, snow and ice are vanishing at an increasing rate. In some places, land is being exposed for the first time in thousands of years. In the north of the island, receding ice brings promise of a more varied menu for the Arctic fox. When supplies grow scarce, the foxes may leave their territories and become nomadic. For some, winter coats are already giving way to shorter summer fur. Solitary scavenging is the most effective way to survive. Although they often mate for life, pairs may be driven many miles apart in their search for food. When you're hungry, a washed-up mussel is not much of a meal. With spring temperatures reaching 10 degrees Celsius, it's time for the male fox to think again about family matters. It's time to reconnect with his mate. likely that these foxes know one another. She's probably a daughter from last year's litter. Right now, she's in the way. If the mating is successful, a litter of up to 18 cubs should arrive in a few weeks. They will be brought up by both parents. Near the mainland forests, temperatures are on the rise. The tundra is released from its prison of snow and ice. It's time for black grouse to find their partners, and they do it by means of a duel. This is necking. Bird equivalent of a bare-knuckle boxing ring. Males battle ferociously over a territory that may only amount to a few square meters. But it's more than just a fight. The spectacle draws a crowd, including a number of females. The victor claims his prize. By early June, life in the lowlands of Finland is in full bloom. Despite occasionally congregating in huge numbers, the lemming prefers a solitary lifestyle. The popular story that lemmings engage in mass suicide is pure myth. These rodents are on the move. They're not looking for a cliff. They're looking for mates. The huge variation in temperature between winter and summer presents a challenge to almost all life here. Common cranes that migrated early lost their eggs to the cold. A late arrival has an advantage. Warm weather means the eggs of this female will have a chance of hatching. But life is far from simple for a well-travelled wader. A patrolling red fox would make short work of any unguarded nest. As if that's not enough, soaring temperatures in the crane's marshland summer home make it a perfect breeding ground for insects. If her chicks are going to hatch, she must stay on the nest. That makes her a sitting target for the flies. In the north of Iceland, tiddlywinks are taking the plunge. With much of their life spent at sea, a fresh water bath is a treat. activities attract unwanted attention. An Arctic fox family, including young with rare white coats. Seabirds are a primary source of fresh meat for the foxes, but the kittiwakes have a pair of bodyguards. With a nest nearby, hooper swans are in no mood to let the foxes pass. Is nothing if not intrepid. In the nearby foothills, other creatures celebrate surviving the odds. The island's nomadic horses have weathered the volcanic storm and found good grazing again. The horses' difficult history on the island has helped produce a tough breed. They inhabit a geological obstacle course with hidden ice, fast-flowing rivers and quicksand, as well as volcanoes. Only the strongest have survived. These horses are much hardier than most of their mainland cousins. The fox's winter menu of scavenged scraps may finally be improved with some fresh meat. They have managed to surround the kittiwakes. The birds know that they're safe if they stay in the middle of the water. But a sick bird stays on land. It's what the foxes have been waiting for. In Finland, perseverance also produces results. The new generation of common cranes has finally emerged. In the lands of the Nordic wild, change is the only constant. The shifting landscape and unpredictable climate will always pose a challenge. Life adapts and is rekindled, surviving in the most unlikely places against seemingly impossible odds. In these wild lands, forged by fire and ice, the raw power of nature has never been so clear.
After the break, we will